On my channel, I quite often see some relatively rare consumer electronic devices, and tonight is no different. I'm going to look at a Pioneer. This is a cassette deck. It holds 7 cassettes, 6 on the recorder side and 1 on the playback. It'll record 6 cassettes and play 1, and we're going to look at another very rare event. Check this out. There, I got it again. There it is. Now, it was really dim. I shot this with my video camera using a 1/8 of a second exposure. That's why it's grainy, kind of like this. I didn't have my SLR with me, or I probably could have got a much better picture. I have here a Pioneer CTWM60R, and this is a unit that a lot of people probably are not that familiar with, including myself. I've only ever seen one of these units before. This unit has a 6 cassette recorder and a auto reverse cassette player. I believe that's how this one works. As I say, I've only seen this once. Okay, let's fire this thing up and see what the problem with it is. I eject it. As you see, there's a tray that you can load multiple cassettes in, and on the other side it just holds a single cassette. So let's just try this out and see, first of all, if anything is working and what the problem is. That sounds like the side working. It's not going into reverse. No reverse play. And now no play. So it has a problem. Okay, so this deck has a problem, and we have to load these things so that the A side faces left, so the cassettes just go in like that. I'll just load one of them right now, and we'll see whether it'll play tape number 1. Does not appear to be playing. Good. So we have 2 faults. Let's take the tape out. I'm going to stop this thing first. Now, cassette return. Let's remove the top from this wonderful piece of equipment and see how this thing works. One of these units would have been quite popular for like a restaurant or fast food joint, so that they could load cassettes and let them play all day and not have to listen to the same thing over and over again. Of course, people know what happens when you do that, when you play recorded music in your restaurant. At least here, you can get a big fine, as that made the newspapers a few years ago. A restaurant that did that. They were just playing recorded music either off a CD or off a cassette, and they got something like a $40,000 fine for having music play in public without a license. So here's the mechanism itself. As you can see, it's just a standard machine, which is over here, and the cassettes will be shuttled in and moved into position. So let's load it up and observe what happens. So I put the cassette in and I close it, and if I play tape number 1, it's going to mechanism all the way down, pull the tape into position, mechanism goes back, and now it should start to play, which is not. Likely belt problems that's stopping the mechanism from working, or maybe a bad switch, but the head is not attempting to raise up to play the tape, but this part's working. But then this is, the mechanism is working as far as moving the tapes back and forth. Now if I press a cassette return, again the unit returns the cassette back to the tray and then returns to its home position, so that I can open it up. So let's see why this thing's not working. Is it a belt that's slipping? Let's just see here whether the actual motor is turning and whether it's a belt that's slipping, because it could just be a slipping belt on this thing. And that's what it is. I can see the motor, I can see the actual motor down here spinning, but the there's not enough torque to load the tape. I'm curious as to whether this other mechanism has the same fault. So let's just try the tape over here again, and we'll observe the motor and see whether the motor tries to spin on this other side when I try to play a tape. I don't even need to look to see if the motor's spinning, because I can see that there's no belt. So the belt has come off this one or it's broken. So I got to replace belts on both of these mechanisms. And that is likely all that needs to be done on these decks. So let's start by disassembling the mechanism and checking to see whether I have a belt that will work on one of these units. So I just want to lift the entire mechanism out just to make it a little easier to work on. So I think I may have to take the front panel off on this thing. Because the whole deck should lift out of here. Maybe it'll come out without taking the front panel off. May have to remove the power transformer to do that. It seems to be in the way. So we'll just take out the power transformer and see whether that'll allow the mechanism to slide out without having to take the front face off. Aha! Deck will lift out. I should be able to just unplug the cords that connect it to the rest of the unit. Oh, this cord won't come out. It's soldered in, but that one. But I should be able to get enough clearance on this thing that I can swing the deck out and work on it. Oh, there's a plug here. Good. Okay. I can disconnect this plug. Ribbon cable. Take that one out of the way. Lift this one out of the way. This one is is that a lift or is that a press? Some of these ones you press down to release them, other ones you have to lift them up. Let's try pressing it down. Yeah, it's a press down type. This one here just pulls straight out. And that mechanism now should lift right out of the unit. Oh, one more connector. Okay. And the head unplugs from here. And this other plug over here unplugs from there. There, now the mechanism's out. I can work on this outside of the big box. First I'll remove this bracket. That's the plug for the head, so we can undo that as well, just to get that wire out of the way. And I'll promptly lose it. Okay, the deck is held together by 4 screws here, and removing those should remove the motor so that I can then get a look at what's how the belt goes on and what size of belt I need. Hopefully this is going to be a pretty standard size, and that I may even have one that will work in stock. Otherwise it would have to be ordered, and ordering belts takes months unless you want to pay a small fortune for them. Like if you want to pay $30 or $40 for a belt kit, but otherwise you have to order them. like from eBay, and when you order parts from eBay, they take forever. Again, unless you're willing to pay a small fortune for freight, which I'm not. Okay, what's holding that in place now? I think there's one more screw in the bottom here that goes in from the bottom, and that should remove this plate. And allow me to get at the belt. And there's the belt there. And it's nicely stretched, as is this other one. So let's see if I can locate a couple of belts that might work on this unit. So see, these aren't, these mechanisms aren't real high-end mechanisms. They're from the plastic era of cassette decks, if you know what I mean. Look at the flywheels on this thing. I mean, it's just, you know, there's nothing to these. They were gadgets that not real high quality, not real high end. This was, you know, this is after the. There's no weight to these. Just a little metal flywheel counterweight on them. But there's not like the old cassette decks that were all metal. This is of the plastic era, when everything started its downhill spiral. Okay, that's one. Look at how loose these capstans are. I mean, there's like, this is the bearing. Look at how sloppy that thing is. I got a couple belts here that probably are going to be fine. So let's just try these two, and hopefully I have two more of them that work on the other deck, because I'm sure it uses the same belts. But I am starting to get low on my belt stock, so I'm going to have to order some more. And I typically order, like, you know, 100 belts at a time. Get all these popular different sizes. The eBay specials. It's typically what I end up with anyway. My belt's gonna go in the groove. Looks like they are. Excellent. I think my belt's okay. Okay, let's try putting this thing back together. And we'll put this mechanism in and see whether this one works, the changer, and then I'll deal with the other side of it. I bet you guys never thought you'd see me work on one of these things. Quite frankly, I never thought I'd ever see one of these things again. I've only ever seen one of them, and that was back in the 90s, I think. Late 90s maybe. I had one of these in for repair once, and I'd never seen one before. And I had to change a motor. It was the other deck. We didn't even change any belts on because they weren't that old that the belts were worn out. But I had to change a motor on the record play deck. the motor was bad. So I took that deck apart to change the motor. I'm sure this unit is going to end up on eBay once it's fixed. And someone will end up paying way too much for it. Just because of the cool factor of the 6 cassettes, right? And does this thing record or just play? I'm just looking to see if there's an erase head down there. I think this is just the playback side. Oh no, it is record. It's got an erase head. So this will record on 6 cassettes plus the other deck. Go grab the box and we'll throw this thing back in and see if it works. One of the most important things you can have on your workbench is a good light. Everybody needs a good work light. It makes things so much easier when you're looking for screws and looking where things go, if you can actually see what you're doing. I have pretty bright lighting in the shop here, but some of it's not where I need it. That's why I have my little arm mounted spotlight. Actually, one of these has a ground on it. I put the screw in without the ground. I have to take that one out again. That plugs in there. This ground screw goes just in under this one here. Okay, that one's working. It's need to be cleaned, obviously, because it probably hasn't been cleaned in forever, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Now, deal with this one. The problem is trying to get the deck out is that there are screws that hold it in here, and I think there's a couple more coming in from the bottom. I might be able to take this out. I forget how we did this before. Oh yes, there is 2 screws on the bottom here. I should be able to lift the deck out on this one. If I remember, the deck will pull out by removing these 4 screws and undoing a couple plugs. If I remember. So, when you worked on as much stuff that I did when I was in the business, they all tend to start looking alike after a while. Okay, that comes out like that. The deck lifts up and there's just 2 soft plugs to undo. One at the head and the other one is this multi-connector for the motors. I probably don't even have to take that one out, but I will, just so that it just makes it a little bit easier. Again, you press down and the connector will release. So it's press. Oh, this is a lift up. I think this is a lift up on this one. Yeah, this one's a lift. Nope, this is it here. So press down on it and it'll unplug. Just like that. Okay, deck is removed. Same deal. Get rid of the box to work on the deck. That's just so that it's out of the way, so that the wire's not in the way with what I need to do. See what I mean about when I say flimsy? Nothing holds this thing together but this back plate. All these gears and stuff are all just held in place by this back plate. Okay, so there's the 2 belts that are off. I got to go through my collection. Hopefully I've got 2 more that will fit and we can get this entire unit back up and running. There's one belt, the other one. Fish it around the pulley first for the motor. Oops. Oh, damn. There we go. Only one problem. One of my little bearing things is falling out. I gotta find it. Where did it go? It might be still in the chassis here. One of these little bearing, brass bearing that goes around the flywheel is falling out. Where did that little bugger go? Because I gotta put it back in. Oh, there it is. It's falling out and it's sitting right in the bottom here. As I say, cheap crap mechanisms. Like put some real bearings in the freaking thing. Get back in there. that. Just like that. A lot of work, these things. A lot of work. Definitely of the era of things not to be repaired. Okay, making sure that I'm in the right groove here and that the pulleys will spin as they're supposed to. Yeah, it looks like they're turning. Yep, they are turning. Good. There's the old stretched belts. You can see these are the ones that just stretch, and these would have turned to black gunk if left much longer because they're just on the way out. All of them are just shot completely, as you can see. No elasticity at all to them. See that when you stretch these things? Watch this. I'll stretch it and drop it, and it'll just continue. It'll just continue to see. That's the problem with these belts like this. They have no elasticity to them, and that's what happens with these cheap. I say I don't know whether these were the ones, whether these were synthetic or natural rubber, but these ones were garbage. Now you remember when I said I've only seen one of these once? That's true. I've only seen one of these once. And I didn't pay that much attention to it back when it was in for service, back in 1990 or 2000 or whenever the heck it was. It was in that last couple of years that I was working in the shop. Might have been a little bit later. It might have been 2000 or 2001. I'm trying to think. A long time ago. I think it might have been into the early 2000s. I left in 2003. But I had an assistant with me, and he retired. And I forget what year he retired. I think he retired in 98 or 99. And after that, I was by myself. I had to do all the audio stuff. Prior to that, my assistant did all the audio, and I just did all the video stuff. But it was after he left, and I was doing audio. But I never got a chance to play around with these things. And I just realized something. This is actually not the record deck. This is the straight playback deck. There's no erase head here. So the single deck on this is playback only. The 6 cassette unit is the record play, which kind of strikes me as kind of odd. I figured that for sure it would be the other way around, that the 6 cassette would be the playback and this would be the record deck. But obviously not. It's set up so that you can load 6 blanks and just record straight on the thing. Actually, that would probably make sense too, because when I did say the one of these that I did work on, I had to change the motor on it. And I think a lot of these people just used them as a single cassette player, played tapes on them. And the playback deck probably got a lot more use than the record deck. Good. That one's good. And this side, actually, you know what? We're going to put a blank tape. I'll put a blank tape on this one, and we'll make a recording. Open. Blank cassette in number 1. And we'll select number 1. Let's rewind this tape. Whoops, wrong button. Try that. And we've got this tape rewound all the way to the beginning. And I'm just going to hit high speed dub just to see what it does. There it goes. I'll just let this tape. We'll let this run for a minute and then we'll check out the copy. Okay, recording's done. Let's rewind the tape. We'll do the same on that one. I can rewind this one. And that's probably far enough. Let's just play it back. I'm gonna have to clean the heads on this thing because I don't think this side's ever been done. So let's take the tape out and clean the head. That's going to be a chore. How am I going to clean the head on this stupid thing? With the mechanism in the way. Now I guess it's accessible. It's accessible through here. So there's the head in the back. It doesn't look like it's even had much use. I don't even see any. Whoops. Camera has a mind of its own, as you can see. I don't think this thing's even had much use in all its years, because the pinch rollers don't even have any indication that there has been any wear on them whatsoever. They look brand new, which is probably because most people with these decks did not use the multiplayer decks. First of all, I don't think Pioneer sold a hell of a lot of these things to begin with, because this would have been a premium, and most people of the time were buying a double cassette just so they could copy tapes. They didn't want to make 6 tapes at the same time, which this could clearly do. You could put this thing in, if you had a 90-minute tape, for example, you could put it in high-speed dub and walk away, and this thing, I'm sure, could record the copy, record it 6 times over. But I don't think a lot of people use the recorder function of this thing. Most people just probably used it for playback, because, I mean, just looking at the pinch rollers and the capstan on this thing here, they don't even look like they've had much use on them. I mean, look, you know, looks pretty clean. And as you can see, the playback side has a lot more, like the head is dirty, and the pinch rollers look like they've had a lot more wear. I'm just rewinding that other tape. I'm going to make a recording from the MP3 player. So get my light just over so I can see what I'm doing here. We'll give this head a clean as well. Still doesn't look like it's had a lot of use, though, to tell you the truth. The pinch rollers this side have a little bit more wear on them. The other ones, the record side, the pinch rollers look pristine. These ones aren't in bad shape either. Okay, I'm going to record on side 2 of this tape. So I've already wound it to the end. I've got it in reverse mode, in record pause. I'll release the pause, and we'll start our music playing. Put it in Dolby C, by the way. Okay, tape is rewound. It's got some neat features like relay play, random play, cassette scan, all rewind. Ignore that bit of wobble at the beginning again. most of these tapes I use for testing are ones that have been chewed up at one point in time or another. They got a lot of miles on them, and I don't really look after the test cassettes because, again, they go in machines of unknown quality and they get damaged, so I just keep using the same old tapes for testing. So once that beginning portion plays past, we're okay. So that's the reverse direction. And this will be the forward direction. No Dolby. And the reverse direction. Back to Dolby C. I would say that this unit is fixed. There we go. Thanks for watching. We will catch you in the next one real soon. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and you'll see all my newest videos. If you like the channel, consider sponsoring my channel through either PayPal or through Patreon. Thanks for watching.